He drops out after a catastrophic debate performance. And they set Kamala Harris up to fail. That was a 3-month campaign, and she was supposed to introduce herself to the American people. No wonder people were Googling, did Joe Biden drop out? And so...
No. You're saying 3 months wasn't long enough?
I mean,
it was too long. It was long enough. It was long enough.
If they had a primary...
It's not that they didn't have time to introduce. They met someone they didn't like them.
If they had a primary, they wouldn't have picked her. And if they had, she would have been able to rough out those edges that then she basically has to start from scratch with a campaign team she didn't hire that didn't like her, right? It was his team.
All right. So in this video, we've got Bill Maher. Yes, that Bill Maher, the guy who usually leans left harder than a Bernie Sanders lawn sign, absolutely wrecking a couple of ultra-woke guests on real time. And let me tell you, when even Bill Maher is throwing up his hands and saying, yeah, this is getting ridiculous, you know the wheels are officially falling off the narrative train. Here's where it gets extra spicy. The very same folks who've spent years branding conservatives as unhinged conspiracy theorists are now floating their own tinfoil hat theories about election fraud. The irony writes itself. Conservatives have long raised concerns about election integrity, asking for basic stuff like voter ID and transparent processes, only to get labeled as fascists, racists, or worse, and now suddenly, these left-leaning commentators are clutching their pearls over supposed nefarious activity in the election. And get this, they're accusing Donald Trump of somehow pulling the strings. Yes, Trump, the guy they said was too dumb to tie his own shoes, is now apparently a criminal mastermind. You can't make this up anyway. Back to the main event. In this clip, Maher doesn't just push back, he tortures their talking points. We're talking full-blown intellectual arson. The guests come on with the usual buzzwords and bumper sticker slogans, but Maher isn't having any of it. He calls out the contradictions, exposes the hyperbole, and basically says what a lot of people, on both sides, are thinking but too scared to say out loud. So let's get into it. The moment where Maher turns the tables and dismantles the woke logic right there on live TV. Buckle up.
I also think everything the candidates, especially the Democrats, do to get voters annoys them. The constant texting. Did you get the texts like from Tim Walz every 5 minutes and like always begging for money and knocking on doors? We've got people knocking on doors. People don't want knocking on your door. Who in this day and age wants someone knocking on? Kids don't even like it when a phone call. That's like too much of a invasion of their privacy, which they don't care about. Who might emerge as the strongest Democratic opposition leader in the next Trump era? Oh, well, that's a good question. I mean, like Adam Schiff, he won, right? Big. And
he won, but I like Westmore.
Westmore's fantastic. He's in Maryland.
Yep.
But who's going to be the one? Gavin Newsom, we have here in this state. He's already like called the legislature to. Trump hasn't done anything yet, but I understand the.
This was the problem. There was a 2014 study that showed that Fortune 500 companies were more likely to pick a female CEO if the company was struggling, basically setting women up for the big job, but to also fail. If they did well, fine. But if they failed, like, look, we have a female CEO while failing. And that's what I feel like they did to Kamala Harris. When Biden refused to step aside and not run again, he was supposed to be that bridge. He backed off on that promise due to arrogance. And then
let's break this one down, because the logic here is all over the place. There's this weird claim floating around that the Democratic Party was somehow forced to make Kamala Harris their candidate. Forced by who? The party wasn't under some divine obligation to pick her. They had a whole roster of people to choose from, and they went with Kamala. So if the folks running the DNC are supposedly these master strategists, why on earth would they back someone they thought was doomed to fail? It just doesn't add up. If Kamala was a guaranteed disaster from day one, wouldn't it make more sense to put someone stronger in that spot? Someone who could actually energize voters or at least not tank the ticket. Instead, we're supposed to believe they knowingly went with someone who couldn't deliver? That kind of thinking doesn't just strain logic, it body slams it. Now let's talk about this idea that Fortune 500 companies are more likely to appoint a woman CEO when the company's on the verge of collapse. Even if there's some truth to the stat, the explanation is probably way simpler. If a company's been run into the ground by a long line of mediocre men, maybe the board finally decides to shake things up. Maybe they're just desperate enough to try something different. Bringing in a woman at that point isn't some weird setup to sabotage her. It's probably just a last-ditch effort to save the ship before it sinks. This idea that there's a secret plot to set women up to fail is more evidence of how far off the rails the woke narrative has gone. Instead of grappling with the real challenges of leadership, crisis management, or corporate culture, they jump straight into wild victimhood theories. It's not thoughtful. It's not honest. And it definitely doesn't reflect how the world actually works. But hey, when your entire worldview is built around identity politics, I guess you've got to find oppression under every rock, even if you have to invent it yourself.
I think that is a very high degree of difficulty to put on anybody. And I do not think she is the perfect candidate. I tend to agree with Sarah that probably in a fully litigated primary, she probably would not have been the Democratic nominee, but we'll never know that. But I will tell you that, there's never been anybody who's had the difficulty of that situation, elevated that late in the campaign. Why?
A Democrat would have needed to run away from
Bill, I don't know
the
if you
Biden
know this, but the Vice President of the United States is basically
supposed to do
shoved in a broom closet for 3.5 years.
I know.
You couldn't.
She was more popular in there.
Yes, well.
I mean, it's this idea that in a mass media age, that 107 days
is not long enough to know somebody.
You are way overestimating the American people in terms of what their ability. No. You have someone like Donald Trump has become a universally known, understood, loved by some, hated by others over the course of being omnipresent for 8 years.
Okay.
Barack Obama becomes president of the United States after running for 2 years as president, runs a 50-state primary, is on television, does dozens of Democratic debates.
The debate got heated fast. No surprise there. They couldn't find any common ground, and things just kept escalating. And like clockwork, Bill Maher came in with his usual sharp takes and basically ran circles around his guest. He wasn't just holding his own, he was dominating. The guest didn't stand a chance. This one's definitely worth watching, so if you're into this kind of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the other breakdowns and hot takes coming up. Alright, let's jump back into the video.
Okay, but I don't know if you ever watched this show, but I had Michael Douglas on this week.
Yeah.
At the top, we were talking about this,
And he made a very good point that every other country in the world can do it in months, sometimes weeks. Why can every other country do it in that short a period of time? Are they all so much brighter than America? I don't think so.
Well,
Mostly parliamentary. I mean, there's literal reasons, right? We don't have a parliamentary system.
I mean,
we also have a First Amendment. We don't make people campaign this whole time. The American people want to give them $20, and so they can afford it. I mean, small dollar donors are arguably the worst thing that's happened to our politics, as it turned out.
It's a small dollar donor didn't make $20 billion. No,
A lot of it.
some of it, yeah.
A lot of it. And they represent about 2% of our country.
There's a few special PACs in there that saw $100 million
those
plus.
are bad too.
I think you can believe that you could have shorter elections in America, but it's not like we don't know. In Britain, for instance, when you have a short election, it's not like you don't know who the leader of the party is for months and years before that.
But you're either the person who's Googling the day before, did Biden drop out? Or in a week. Did anyone in this audience not know enough about Kamala Harris pretty much after a week to make a decision? Yeah, people. And
How
it's
are you gonna
ridiculous.
enforce
We just get sicker of them.
What? So
How are you going to tell people
they
they
say
can't
the
talk
same
about politics?
What?
How with free speech that I know you love?
Yeah.
How are you going to limit people's ability to run for office?
I'm not limiting. We're not making a law.
Bill Maher was on fire in this episode of Real Time. Now look, I don't always agree with the guy. His hit or miss depending on the day. But this time, he nailed it. His breakdown of how to fix American politics was one of the most straightforward takes I've heard in a while. Get rid of lobbyists, cut off third-party donations, and make sure politicians are only getting paid through their government salaries. No outside money. No shady backdoor deals. Just a clean system where elected officials actually work for the people. Sounds simple, right? But here's the catch. We all know that even in a perfect world, the corruption would still find a way in under-the-table deals, quiet favors, the whole nine. That's just politics in real life, unfortunately. What really made this episode pop, though, though, was how Maher handled those two ultra-woke guests on his left. I don't even know who they were. And honestly, it doesn't matter. Their takes were so out there, it was hard to keep a straight face. Maher wasn't having it. He cut through the nonsense with surgical precision and shut them down completely. No yelling. No drama. Just facts. Anyway, I want to hear what you think. Was Maher in the right to call them out? Do you think there's any real path to fixing the system we've got? Or are we too far gone? Let's talk about it. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're into this kind of content.